70s, what a trip. What really happened while I was preoccupied with the transformative movements of that decade? Perhaps I missed something along the way. My curiosity got the best of me as I accepted Kathy's request to help her with this program. Thanks to the library's excellent reference material, my curiosity was more than satisfied. What really happened in the 1970s? Jennette and Ernie helped me answer that question with 4 reference books containing all the information needed to create the essay you are about to hear. This essay is only one example of the quality information that you can find right here in the library about any subject. Material used to create this essay was taken from the following books, and they're here on the table for you to see. Chronicle of the 20th Century, a timeline of political, social, and intellectual trends, developments in science and technology, literature and art events, fashion and sports news for just about every day in the 20th century. You can check out what happened on the day you were born. You might be surprised. Chronicle of the 20th Century was given to the library by radio station WGRA 790 on your AM dial. The Encyclopedia Britannica and Getty Images, History of the World in Photographs 1850, 2007. Time Life Books, Time of Transition, the 1970s. American Decades, 1970-79, edited by Victor Bondi, Manley Incorporated, publisher. This is one volume in a set of 10 which explore each decade of the 20th century with 13 essays written by historians. The chapter headings range from world events to sports. This is the source most quoted in the essay. Just for fun, I did a Google search, a very broad search, I must confess, for the 1970s. In less than half a minute, there were about 390 million hits. The hit at the top of the list was a link to Wikipedia. Now, the first on the list of any Google search means that link is the most popular, not the best or most reliable source of information. So I had 390 million possible answers to my question. The first was Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia, with its thousands of entries and thousands of edits daily from around the world, reminds me of a neighborhood ritual that used to take place back in my hometown. Every morning, weather permitting, there was the over-the-back fence while hanging out the wash gossip fest. One morning, Miss Luella started the day's contest to see who could come up with the most interesting news by telling her about her cousin Sue's visit the day before. Miss Luella announces that Sue is pregnant and emphasizes the fact by adding, "My heavens, she looks as if she swallowed a watermelon." Miss Martha next door sends that news on with her editorial. "Why, I didn't even know she was married." Now we have some real hot news. On down the line, the preacher's wife tells her husband, and he is inspired to create a sermon on temptation by cleverly connecting a watermelon with the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. "Beware the watermelon," he would shout while pounding the pulpit. He grinned with satisfaction as he imagined those funeral home fans fluttering all over the sanctuary. But then he thought better when he remembered that Jonas Brown, who grew watermelons for market, was a faithful member of the church. Finally, the hot topic reaches the end of the block, Miss Rosalie. Now, you know Miss Rosalie graduated from finishing school. Miss Rosalie got on the phone to all her unwed lady friends, warning them about the possible side effects of eating watermelon. Anyone dropping in for a visit with any of the ladies in the block would have come away with the news as it had developed up to that house. Miss Luella's cousin, Sue, brought the neighborhood back to reality with her next visit when she presented her beautiful baby girl named Suella, who didn't look anything like a watermelon. Miss Luella just couldn't understand why her neighbor's usual comment was, "Well, I'll say," instead of, "Why, Sue, she's just as pretty as you." Wikipedia does confess that recent entries may contain misinformation, even vandalism. Misinformation, misleading, deceitful. Imagine that. Its homepage continues to say, people of all ages, cultures, and backgrounds can add or edit articles, references, images, and other media here in Wikipedia. Get this. What is contributed is more important than the expertise or qualifications of the contributors. What will remain depends upon whether this content is verifiable against a published, reliable source. Now, how much misinformation is out there, and how is it being misused? Have our efforts to describe reality as accurately as possible been outdated, made old-fashioned? Our quest for truth requires eternal vigilance. In the late 1960s, when television was just beginning to take its stronghold on our family life, there were some fantastic commercials with miniature Jeep-like toys making very graceful leaps and turns in realistic landscapes. They sold like hotcakes. I could hardly resist one myself. A disillusioned parent of a disillusioned child sued the manufacturer for false advertising. In real life, the toy would zip through its turns and jumps on the living room carpet in a second or two, when on TV it took about 10 seconds. The manufacturer won with a verdict based on the age-old adage, truth is in the eye of the beholder. That gave advertisers the green light to show their products as boldly and sensationally as necessary to make them irresistible. If we choose to accept what we see as reality, that's our problem, not theirs. Truth is in the eye of the beholder. The public relations industry realized they could sell anything, including political candidates, if they presented it in bright colors with intelligent-looking actors doing exciting things in romantic places. Remember that old saying, you can't tell a book by its cover. Today we have instant, 24/7 access to all kinds of information, but we must persistently question that information because its subject and content may have been selected to please mass audiences, to distract, delude, amuse, and insulate us from what is really happening. It may be information used by special interest groups to sway our thoughts in their direction. In other words, propaganda. We must persistently question what we perceive as reality to see truth. We also have access to published, reliable information. Authors, philosophers, poets, musicians, artists have spent lifetimes, even risking their lives, to record for us their interpretation of reality. They share their observations here in our library in books of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, essays, history and reference materials, periodicals, DVDs, and CDs. Be grateful for Roddenberry Memorial Library, where you can search for that author who speaks clearly to you, where you can investigate subjects that interest you, where you can read the latest in-depth reports on candidates running for office so that you can make rational decisions for your choice, where you can explore your imagination, develop your intuition, where you can relax and visit and take part in meaningful programs. But we have a problem. Our library is seriously underfunded. One of the several casualties of this fact is that its collection of books and media are becoming outdated. Our quest for truth requires a source of reliable information that reflects the latest responsible thinking in all subjects, published in books and media that have been carefully selected and kept current by competent librarians, not by marketing experts or spin doctors. Barbara Kingsolver, in her book Small Wonders, talks about the plight of independent bookstores. Barbara's words apply to underfunded libraries as well. She says, the tides of fortune will reverse themselves. I still tell myself each time I hear of another cut in library budget. It will happen because this is America, where we love to believe in our own story. And the rest of us can read it in the library without waiting for Big Brother to buy it a place at the big box table. It will happen because we're devoted, above all, to independence and freedom of thought. Aren't we?